Hey guys, Craig here from the Pro Audio Help Desk and welcome back to another episode of Your Questions Answered, where I'll be tackling another 3 of your most asked questions, so let's get into it. Question 1. What plugin should I buy to start mixing music? Now, if you're just getting started, my advice is actually to not buy any plugins. Any of the stock plugins in your preferred DAW will do the job perfectly well, and they're a really great starting point because they allow you to learn all of the different features, what the plugin does, and how to use it. Now, my advice to you, and something I wish someone had told me when I first got started that would have saved me a lot of money, is to only ever buy something once the stock or free version doesn't actually have the feature you're after. Now, this is really good advice for a couple of reasons. Number 1 is, like I just said there, it'll actually save your bank account a whole world of trouble. Instead of buying stuff that you probably don't actually need, you'll be able to then invest that money back into stuff that's actually relevant. The second point is that the chances are the plugins you're using already can actually do what you want. Most likely it's that you don't know the plugin well enough rather than it not actually having the features you need. And the third point is it is very likely to make your job a lot easier in the long run. Instead of having an endless list of tons of EQs, compressors and other effects, you'll be able to quickly select from the few that you know really well and just get started with the job. As a side note, you'll probably find in the future as you continue through this, you're really likely to keep going back to the same 2 or 3 plugins anyway, so by removing all of those extra ones from the get-go, you're only going to be in a good position. Question 2. I'm currently at university studying music tech and would like to take a placement year. Do you have any advice? Brilliant. I can't recommend taking a placement year anymore. I took a placement year whilst I was at university, and between my second and third year I went and worked for a studio. Now, this was great for a number of reasons. The first one was that it gave me a load of relevant work experience to put on my CV, which has only helped for jobs further down the line. The second point was that I got first-hand experience in the career I wanted to take. Now, this is a really good entry point to work out whether it really was the job for me. And finally, I met lots of people. And whilst at university at this stage in your career, your contacts list is one of the most valuable assets you will have. Now, in terms of advice, I have a few things that I would consider whilst looking for your placement. And the first one is, can you afford to take an unpaid placement? Now, not all companies can afford to take on an extra member of staff, so not all placements come paid. Now, if you're lucky enough to be able to take an unpaid placement, either by living at home or juggling multiple jobs to cover any rent payments that you may have, you may find there's a lot more opportunities out there for you. Now, the drawback for this is that if you are living at home with your family and you live in quite a small town, there may not actually be as many opportunities in that town, meaning that you're having to start looking further afield for these placements, which may come with rent. And the second point is to make sure you're prepared to apply for the job at the right time. Now, I know some companies will put their positions up at a set time of the year. So if you know what it is you want to do, it would be really wise to look into the company and see whether they do post their positions at set times. If so, make sure you have a CV ready for this time. If they don't and jobs just come up here and there, it's really wise to get started earlier with your CV so that you have something ready just in case. And the third point is to establish whether you know what it is you want to do for your placement position. Now, whilst I was at university, there were some people that are happy to take any job, and there were some people that had a goal in mind as to what job they want to take. Now, it's really good to work out what this is in advance because it'll allow you to spend your time a bit more wisely. Because if you have a goal in mind of which job you want to take, there's no point applying for lots of other jobs if you know deep down you're never going to take them. And the fourth point is the job doesn't have to be advertised yet. Not all companies know what a placement student is or how they can help them. So just because the job hasn't been advertised or doesn't exist yet, doesn't mean that you can't be the one to make it happen. My advice for this is to get them on the phone, or even better, get them in person. If you can sit down with the manager of a company that you're interested in working for, you'll be able to much easier explain to them the benefits of taking on a placement student and what a placement student actually is. And the next point is to make sure the job is mutually beneficial. Now, this is a tricky one to navigate, especially if you're taking an unpaid placement, but you just want to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of. Now, this happens only in very rare cases, but there are some companies out there that will only want you for the free labour. You want to make sure there's actually something in the job that's going to help you too. And the last point I'd like to make on this is to not get disheartened. Now, like with any job hunt, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be an easy ride. You'll get rejection letters, you'll get ignored by companies, and there's going to be points where it really does suck. But if you do keep at it, I guarantee you will succeed and you'll find that perfect job. So don't let any of the bad stuff get you down and keep at it. Question 3. Is LinkedIn good for audio people? Now, LinkedIn is a great professional social media platform, although I think it very much depends on what job you're after as to how helpful it will be. If you're, for example, a recording and mixing engineer working with like heavy bands, or most bands in all fairness, LinkedIn probably is not the right place to go. There's not going to be a lot of bands that are advertising their work out there, and there's not a lot of bands that are particularly looking for engineers on LinkedIn. However, if you are working in something like audio design for films and commercials, this is a bit more of a professional job, so there's a chance that you may have better success on LinkedIn. Now, this isn't to say that having a LinkedIn account is going to be useless. Like with many things, putting yourself out there as much as you can is always going to be helpful. But like with any platform, if you put in the time to build up a profile and make relationships, then you'll get out what you put in. Having a LinkedIn account is going to be helpful, but it's not going to guarantee you any work, so you still need to try hard. And that brings us on to this week's top tip, which it may sound a little bit silly, but it's to make sure that you're having fun. Now, we can all get bogged down with the business and the money side of all of it, that we actually forget that we enjoy making music. So what I would like you to do this week, guys, is to take a moment to think about all the things that you loved the first time you heard a song or you wrote a song, and try and re-spark that love that you initially had for music. And that is it for this week, guys. So please do make sure you are having fun with all things audio. And if you have any other questions, drop them down in the comments below. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you very soon.